Hello, and welcome back to Making Work Work, the interview series, which is all about talking to guest experts who are helping people to have a better experience at work. Hello, my name is Chris Thorne, and I am an executive coach facilitator, and my mission is to help people to love what they do. Now, I help organizations solve the problem of burnout, and I do that by harnessing the power of digital technologies in coaching to support their people's emotional well-being so they can be more productive and make changes that stick. Now, the question that I think a lot of businesses are asking right now is, especially going into this second lockdown, is how are we going to support our people to be more emotionally strong and maintain their mental health during this time of COVID and uncertainty? And how are we going to get the best of those people so they can perform well, even in remote conditions? Now, at the heart of any organization that's able to do this is great leadership. And I am really passionate about partnering with other people who have a similar passion to create great places to work by helping to develop great leaders. And that is why I am so excited today to bring you my interview with Shay McConnon. Now, Shay is the creator of an amazing tool called An Even Better Place to Work. It's one of the digital technologies that I use as part of my coaching process to help people identify what people need help with. Shay, hello.
Hello, I'm delighted to be here, Chris.
Indeed, it's so good to see you. And I understand we might even have a special treat for our audience. Now, Shay is a man of many talents. He's a great speaker and presenter. He's super active. He does kite surfing and racquetball and all sorts. And one of the neat things about Shay is he is a member of the Magic Circle. And I understand if we're really good, he might even show us a little bit of magic today. Is that right, Shay?
Well, I use the magic, Chris, as visual metaphors when I do my speaking. So the
Ah,
magic, if you like, contains the message. So
okay. So what
would you
message have
like
you
me to
got today?
would you like me to show you something?
I'd love it.
Okay, there we changes all around us. It's bright now. In a few hours' time, it's going to be dark. There we have a red handkerchief. Now, instead of having a red handkerchief, what we now have is a blue handkerchief. Now, the
Ooh.
psychologists tell us to bring about effective behavior change, what you need is a very clear description of your current behavior and of your preferred behavior. Now,
Oh,
the whole idea is to get rid of the behaviors that you don't want. But of course, we live in the real world where the old behaviors will mix with those new behaviors. And if you want to get rid of those old behaviors and replace them with those new behaviors, what you really need is not a good speaker, but a good magician.
oh.
So the words around that, Chris, the words around that are real. In other words, the more specific you are about what you want to achieve, the more it's likely to happen.
Oh, Shay, that's amazing. And what a fun way to kick off our interview, because this is such a timely topic, isn't it? I think a bit of lightness and a bit of fun is something we could all really use right now, isn't it?
Well,
So
people learn best when they're fairly relaxed and enjoying things.
that's right, absolutely. So Shay, just could you just tell us a little bit about how did this whole thing come apart? How did this all come together? How did you come to create Better Place to Work? And what is it about helping people to be happier at work that is so important to you that led you to do that?
They, I've been running courses for years, workshops on relationships, helping people to understand each other, why they behave as they do, giving them the tools to have those conversations and really make differences. It's really following up on your objective, which is you want to help people to love what they do.
Mm.
And that's at the heart, that's another description of what an even better place to work is all about. So we did rollouts with Siemens and Barclays and PepsiCo Foods and organizations like that. And lots of people came back and said, Shay, love your program, love it, love it, love it. How do we keep it going? How do we sustain what's been started?
Mm.
So I put together some activities for team leaders for
Mm.
them to do with their teams. And that was great. And then they said, this is great. How do we need to measure what we're doing though. Is it
Ah,
making any difference? So then I created a diagnostic. Then they
okay.
said, can you do some posters for us? Some of those key points are really useful to be reminded of. So I created posters. So Better Place to Work has grown from the ground up. It's not from some academic model or theory, but working with managers. And
Real
that's why it's really
people.
practical and friendly.
So working with real people in real situations in terms of, making this applicable to them.
Absolutely.
And I mean, what exactly is Better Place to Work? And, what sort of needs in the marketplace is it actually meeting?
That's really good question, because if you look at the data out there in terms of leadership, 75% of people leave jobs because of relationship issues, and most of those are with their immediate supervisor.
Ah,
30% of people don't trust their bosses.
oh,
Yeah. So will you follow somebody you don't trust? Of
probably
course.
not.
Yeah, probably not. And typical managers lose up to 25 to 30% of the data unnecessary conflict and misunderstanding.
Oh,
So that's some of the statistics which are out there. And that last one on conflict is from Dana, Dana. So what I did was I put together a people problem cost calculator. In other words,
oh,
let's work out the
what's it,
cost of this.
what does it
If
cost us? Yeah.
Yeah. So if, for example, you're losing 20 or 25% of your data on necessary conflict, well, what are you paying your managers? How many managers have you got? And this calculator works it out. And this is when
Mm,
it becomes frightening, Chris, because for an organization of 100 people,
mm,
it equates to £250,000. For an
wow.
organization of 1,000 people, that's 2.5 million.
That's
Now,
a
that's
lot.
absolutely. So this is the business case for Better Place to Work. It's going to save you pots of money, because the greatest source of inefficiency for most organizations lies in working relationships, conflict, misunderstanding.
So it sounds like a lot of this is about really improving the leadership, isn't it? Because obviously that's one of the most important relationships we have. So
Chris,
what's the model of leadership that you have in
yeah,
BPT?
and you can't get away from it. You're absolutely right. So Better Place to Work, unashamedly, is about improving the quality of work life for people.
Mm. How do you do that?
How do we do that? We're through the needs approach. So if you look at improving the quality of work life for everybody, yeah, we need to look at, well, why do people, and we're not saying an individual's need is more important than the business need. It isn't. The
Mm.
business need must have priority.
Right.
Yes. But it is about needs. People come to work to have their needs met. If their needs are not met, they become disillusioned, unhappy, disengaged, and we have all those costly people problems.
Right.
So, is leading your people, getting the best out of your people about connecting with their needs? It would appear so. Now, we need to make a distinction between leading the business and leading the people in the business. Now,
Right.
leading the business is bottom line stuff, vision, etc. All Better Place to Work, all of that is about the individual, meeting the needs of the individual, because that is the way to get the best out of people. That's how you lead people, as opposed to leading the business. And the people who are good at leading the business, very often their skill set is not in getting the best out of people. So
Yeah.
it is all about needs. It's as simple as that, but we need to get in our heads. That's what it's about. So Better Place to Work is about creating that culture, a needs focused culture supported by needs driven leadership. So the needs focused culture, we're just focused on needs. That's who we are. My colleagues' needs, my partner's needs, my children's needs. It's part of the mindset and the behaviors. And yeah, so it's just in there, but supported by needs driven leadership. So the leadership is about needs. So what we do is we look at that, and it's systemized leadership
Mm.
as opposed to charismatic leadership. So systemized leadership, what does that mean? It
Mm.
means do these things and you're likely to be an outstanding leader.
Ah,
So
it's
we
like
have
a like
7 steps
like a
to
checklist
outstanding leadership.
almost. Yeah, because I've been because I've been well, I recently interviewed Fee Hills, who I know you also partner with as well, as part of the virtual coffee house, and we've been talking a lot about the need for organizations to kind of shift away from like a product and service oriented focus towards more of like a learning organization where people can create and innovate and share knowledge, which we need to do it if we're going to change rapidly. But in order to create a culture like that where people feel comfortable to do that, we have to have things like being open and being valued, and getting proactive feedback and managing our differences and our conflict. And I know that's one of the things that the diagnostic starts to address, isn't it? Is there's 7 key areas, isn't it? What are those areas?
Those areas, and these indicators were given to us by middle managers. They said they wanted their people feeling valued,
Right.
motivated, managing their differences, taking ownership for their issues, engaging in feedback. So those were the things that the manager says, that's what we want in our people. That's what we want Better Place to Work to achieve. So we created then a diagnostic linked to those 7 indicators and people's needs.
Oh, okay.
So suddenly, and that's a bit like you go to the doctor for a checkup, but
Mm.
this is the checkup about needs. Imagine you go to the doctor and he says, you've got eczema. End of conversation. Would you be happy? Of course you wouldn't. I don't care
No.
what you call it. I want the solution. I want the cream. And that's one of the distinguishing characteristics of an even better place to work. It gives you the solutions. It gives you the medicine. So Better Place to Work is 5% diagnostic, 95% solution.
Mm.
So it's a checkup. Here's the medicine. And the third phase is putting systems in place so that performance levels don't drop in the future.
Right. Okay. And I mean, you keep going on about needs, and you said earlier that obviously the business need has to obviously take precedence over the individual needs. But what if that means that we can't meet the individual's needs? What happens then?
Yeah, and this is going to be the case. None of us are going to go through life with all our needs being met.
Yeah.
So let's be realistic about this. My needs are not going to be met. However, we still can have rapport. We still maintain the goodwill. We still get people going the extra mile from each other, providing I don't sense my need is being dismissed.
Mm.
But I find, no, it's impossible to have the need be met. It's just not possible at this particular moment in time. But if you sense from the other person a willingness to meet their need, if it were possible, now rapport is retained and the goodwill is retained.
So that's
And we
about.
have,
Oh, sorry.
and we just maintain those high levels of productivity then.
So I mean, that to me sounds like it's about maybe having sort of those one-to-one conversations, isn't it? Really, between obviously the line manager and their team, and showing that empathy that obviously you would try and understand where people are coming from and do your best to help support them to meet the need. But obviously, if you cannot, which they can't always, can they? There's an understanding there. It's handled with respect, I guess.
Absolutely. And those one-to-ones are really critical. Those one-to-ones unashamedly is about the individual. This is not about performance. Push that to one side. I'm not saying it's not important. It's very important.
Mm.
But to understand Better Place to Work and the emphasis within Better Place to Work, we're focused on the individual. What's your needs? What's your experience? What's your concerns? Let's meet those at a human level. And now the business will benefit dramatically. But we must always put the business need first. The mantra is meet the business needs without neglecting the needs of people. Because if you neglect the needs of people, you now have all those people problems. You now work out that calculator, how much money you're just kind of wasting through inefficient relationships.
Yeah, and we know that it's so important that businesses are obviously very interested in people analytics and data and having visibility about what's happening across the organization. And one of the things that is nice is that I know Better Place to Work goes down to a fairly low level of data, doesn't it? Some engagement surveys only go up to like a regional or a team level, whereas this goes down to a team of what, sort of 3 to 5, I think it is, or
Yeah.
so you get a real bird's eye view of how people are feeling and thinking.
And Chris, what you're hinting at there is really important to the structure of Better Place to Work. Our data doesn't go back to management for them to find solutions. It goes back to individuals and teams for them to find solutions at that local level in the team. So all our questions on the diagnostic are about needs. Yeah. I get the appreciation I need from my team. I feel So all the questions you're asking whether you need to be met in your team. Why is that important? Because if there's a problem, it lies within this group of people. Therefore, the solution lies within the team. People can't finger point management.
No, and that's another trend that's quite important at the moment, is that leaders are realizing that they need to kind of come out the silos and being able to look across the organization as a whole. And especially with the remote working culture right now, a lot of decisions are having to kind of be dispersed out to more of a local level. And you're obviously having to build more trust and respect of all individuals in the organization to hand that decision making over. So getting people to take ownership for their own emotional well-being and engagement is a good first step, isn't it?
Absolutely. And not only getting them to take ownership, but actually resourcing them to take ownership. So we make it easy for people to be successful. And this you can do with a tool which is online and systemized.
And so how do you do that? I mean, so once they've got the diagnostic and they got the information, what would happen next?
Basically, what would happen is the team leader would call the team together, do a little review activity. How do we feel about those scores? Blah, blah, blah. People share their charts if they want to. It's confidential, but if they want to, they can share their charts. And really, people are now beginning to talk about their needs. And if you think about it, do I want to talk about my needs? Of course.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, this is not about management's agenda or the business agenda. This is about me, my agenda. Because that's how we create our disillusioned people. If all people ever hear is management's agenda and the business agenda, never their agenda, now we create all those people problems. So the team leader, we suggest, also has a one-to-one with each team member about their chart, about their needs. Oh my goodness, my boss, my team leader is coming to talk to me about my needs, my situation. That's likely to grow openness, trust, and collaboration.
Which are obviously key areas that we need to develop if we're going to be an organization that's going to
Absolutely.
thrive going forward.
And then what we do, Chris, is there's further activities all designed to improve the needs agenda. Safe, fun, people like them. They only take about 20 minutes. And then after 3 months, we suggest you retake the diagnostic about needs to track progress and keep looping on that little structure. Take the diagnostic, team leader meets with the team, review some activities, have one-to-ones, and at the same time, the senior team meets to review the data across the whole organization. And that is massively significant to them because it's the quality of data. If you look at the reports, they are designed to be interpreted and used by people themselves, by the senior team, and actually everybody at every level, right down to a team member.
Yeah, and they're fair, and they're obviously in their form of a heat map, very quick and easy to see the results and
Absolutely.
that. And look, I know you've had some amazing success stories with Better Place to Work, and obviously, I think in this time of need, people could use a bit of inspiration. I know I've been someone else I interviewed previously in my interview series, Miss Mahoney, was very instrumental in rolling out Better Place to Work at Yeovil Hospital. And took them from a very low level of engagement to #1 in staff engagement. They've had some really good results, haven't they?
Absolutely. Well, uh, good results are just part of Better Place to Work. We have 90% plus renewal rates because people don't see it as a program that comes to an end, but as a business tool for people excellence. And if you think about it, what difference does Better Place to Work make? It's all about people's needs. Now, if my needs are being met, will I want to be at work? Of course. So we notice absenteeism comes down dramatically, attrition down dramatically, staff retention grows. The Environment Agency suggested they got 10-to-1 return on investment. We've had people, agency costs, again with the NHS, down from 250,000 to 20,000 a month. This is over a 3-year period.
That's significant.
Absolutely. Staff attrition down from 22% to 14%, absenteeism down by over 42%. Now that's hard data, and it is attributable not only to an even better place to work, but very significantly to an even better place to work.
But I think what's great about it is it opens the door, doesn't it? So it gives you the starting point to have those all important conversations that you need to have in order to drive change through your organization, don't they? And
Absolutely.
And, obviously with COVID and this whole shift towards more flexible and remote working, I mean, what sort of support can you offer, does Better Place to Work offer around that?
Well, if you think about it, Chris, an even better place to work is an online tool. Therefore, it's ideal at this moment in time with COVID-19 and so many people working remotely. So can this be done with hybrid teams or remote teams? The answer is yes, of course, because the diagnostic is online. The team leader can run a review meeting online. The team leader can have those one-to-ones online. And we've created specially for the current situation, the COVID situation, activities suitable for remote teams.
Ah, yes.
So this does allow you to work remotely yet continue to develop your people. Because it
Fantastic.
allows they allow the team to stay connected.
And so, I mean, where do you kind of see the future of this going? I know you've partnered up with, as I mentioned before, Fee Hills, which the virtual coffee house and the micro coaching coach in your pocket. So, and I know you guys have a very strong partnership. Where is that kind of going?
Well, what Fiona has done there with the micro coach in your pocket with the app is something really, really significant. And again, is the current marketplace and the future marketplace. These are tools. We're finding information is so readily available these days in contrast to 20 or 30 years ago. What people want is not more information, but what they want is transformation. They want the car, not the theory of the internal combustion engine.
Yes.
So we're looking for tools, and that's what Cafe Style have produced. It's been very influenced by neuroscience. They got mind hacks, micro vibes. It's all about individual transformation, changing that mindset, changing the behaviors at an individual level. And this is why it complements an even better place to work, and why I'm so keen to work closely, is because Better Place to Work is about team transformation and organizational transformation.
Oh,
Making
yes.
the changes at those levels. And Fiona's Cafe Style is all about the individual transformation. So this creates something really, really powerful and something that wasn't possible 20 years ago because the technology wasn't there.
Right.
But this is where the marketplace is going, we feel. It is around tools and transformation.
I think it's about giving people, I think, what they need when and where they need it. Because although face-to-face one-to-one coaching would be the ideal, when you have a large organization, unfortunately, sometimes it's not viable, and especially if you have a smaller organization, sometimes it's not easily done either. But
Absolutely.
Obviously, there's a time and a place for that as well. But this gives people the capability to support people on all different levels and in all different ways.
Yeah. And if we look at this in a historical context, what you're going to find is, way back last century, Henry Ford is supposed to have said, why is it every time I hire a pair of hands, I get a human being? And of course, what is referring to the grief comes from people, the human aspect. And in those days, life was simple. You got a job, you were supervised. If you didn't perform, you lost your job. As simple as that. If you don't meet the business needs, you're out. Was there much consideration for individual needs in those days? Of course there wasn't. And of course that gave rise to the unions and all the rest of it. So mid-century, you had some enlightened team or MDs talking a bit more about respect for their people, etc., etc. And hopefully today, we're further down that road, but we're not there yet. Believe you me, there's a massive need for what we are offering here, these tools. But if you look at what you said, I want people to love what they're doing. What I am saying is, I want to improve the quality of people's work lives. Now, none of us are doing this exclusively or at the expense of the business need. No, because we know the business needs will be met when we value our people and make them feel a bit more special. But it's how do we do it? So we're giving people the tools. This is the how to do these things. Here's the car. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm so with you on that, because I just, from my own experience of, how I came to make my own career changes and shifts, and just from what I've seen in working in different environments, and obviously seeing the impact of uncertainty and change, and burnout on a lot of people that I know and care about. And obviously with COVID, we've had a massive, massive tipping point. I think it's
Yeah.
just brought a lot of issues that were already kind of simmering below the surface, that it's brought them out to the fore. And we've realized that people really do want to have purpose and meaning at work, and if they did, oh my goodness, can you imagine the impact that would make on how much happier people would be in their lives and towards their family and their friends, and just the knock-on effect it could have around the globe.
And Chris, one of the things when I attend these webinars, etc., we hear the same words: transformation, leadership, valuing our people, listening to our people, but nobody tells you how to do it. So we
Mm,
come away nodding our heads in agreement, but nothing changes because I haven't got the car, I haven't got the tools. But people are aware. And, if you plant flowers, what do you get? You get flowers. If you plant weeds, what do you get? You get weeds. What if you plant nothing? If you do nothing about your culture, what's likely to happen? If you plant nothing, you're going to get
nothing.
weeds. At
Well,
least
that's, yes, you're right,
that's what
because,
happens in my garden.
well,
The,
yeah,
the
same.
same the same with organizations, Chris. If they don't start to do something, not talk about it, do something, you're going to have weeds. You're going to have parts of your culture disillusioned, disengaging, etc., etc.
Yeah, and the thing about these changes is actually they're, when you actually peel back all the layers and look at what we're really trying to do, it's we're just talking about, it's treating people the way we ought to treat people, full stop, in terms of just getting connected and having those conversations and
Absolutely.
developing the skills to communicate and work together better, and just obviously have a better life, better world, being very visionary. But it's really all about that. And actually, we're not talking huge changes. Small steps can make such a massive difference over time, can't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And creating a culture which supports people talking about their needs and wants to resource them so that they begin to take ownership themselves for improving the quality of their work lives.
Yes, and I think it's really important, especially with this time of COVID, that we really try and equip line managers in particular, because so often we find people that end up in that position, maybe because they were promoted because they were good at the day job, but they may not necessarily know how to manage people. Or perhaps you own your own business, and you want to grow and scale, and you find yourself needing to bring people on board to make that happen. And leadership skills and skills in, whatever your technical expertise are, they're different areas or different things, and you can't really succeed in an organization without both. And I think whatever you can do to support people, especially in this time of need, to look after their own emotional well-being in themselves, and also to look after their people, surely that's got to make a positive difference out there, don't you think, Shay?
Absolutely. And what they need from us is the tools. Here's the how to. This is what you can do.
Absolutely. Well, Shay, is there any advice that you'd give to people in this time of COVID? I mean, tools aside, is there if you had like one top tip you'd give someone as a leader to just go away and do today that would make a difference, what do you think it would be?
Start a conversation about needs with your people. And very simply, it could just be, what do you need from me to help you through this situation?
Mm,
What are your concerns? So basically, um, just talk to people, but about needs, not about the football game,
yeah.
about what the needs are, something very significant in terms of the organization and the leadership.
Yeah, oh, that's great. And and I'd second that. And it's having the courage to be maybe that little bit vulnerable, and even reveal that you're finding
Absolutely.
times challenging as well, and not making assumptions about what you think people need until you ask them as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Shay, this has been absolutely brilliant, and I know our audience is going to have some real value and tools to take away. What do you think would be a good next step? I'll obviously post the link um, to the Better Place to Work tool in my show notes, and also I think we should signpost people to this Hero's Journey, which is a 24-day personal development journey that's been developed by the Virtual Coffee House to guide people along the way. Is there anything else you'd add?
Well, I certainly would encourage that hero's journey, because that is a tool which is going to bring about that transformation. And then just generally stay focused on people's needs. Recognize that any moan, blame, or criticism are clumsy expression of unmet needs.
Yeah, that's true. Because hurt people hurt other people, don't they?
Absolutely.
Great.
So start those conversations about needs. Talk about your own needs. It will be safe. And instead of criticizing somebody, you don't listen, to express that as, I feel I'm not listening, I'm not being listened to. So you're talking about my need here. And that's more likely to get the discussion going about not feeling listened to. You come out with a you are, you don't listen. The reaction that's going to create is one of defensiveness, and I'll prove to you that I do listen to you.
Yeah.
And we're off your needs. We're not talking about your needs. We're just to change it around. I feel I need to be listened to a bit more.
Right. And how can I type questions, I think, as well.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Great. Well, Shay, listen, thank you again so much for your time today. It's been absolutely super having this conversation with you. I've really enjoyed it. And I'm very excited to go and put this out there to share with our listeners on the LinkedIn and other platforms. Shay, thank you so much. And listen, I'll see you again soon, audience, on another edition of Making Work Work.